historical context in which you can then fit all the information I'm going to give you, we're going to go back 40,000 years in time. 40,000 years ago was probably the first appearance of the Homo sapiens sapiens in this part of the planet. If we fast forward another 30,000 years, 10,000 years ago, we would have been living the last ice age. And about 1,000 years later, so 9,000 years ago, that ice age would have ended. And with the end of the ice age and the subsequent rise in sea levels, Britain, the island that you're on today, became separated by a stretch of water from the European continent to this day. We know there were already inhabitants living on this island. They were Neanderthals. They formed primitive societies of hunter-gatherers, nomads that would move around from one part of the country to another, following the herds of wild animals that they hunted and collecting fruits and berries to complete their diet. Bob, can you turn me up a bit, please? Thank you. Hello, hello, hello. That's better. Now, this nomadic hunter-gatherer phase lasted for a fairly long time in terms of human history, because it did last for about 4,000 years. And at the end of those 4,000 years, so about 5,000 years ago, an important social change took place. And that was the change from nomadic hunter-gatherers to sedentary farmers, obviously due to the discovery of agriculture, a primitive type of agriculture largely based probably on wheat, which is still grown in this part of the country to this day, and also the discovery of the keeping of livestock. We have found alongside human remains in these first early settlements also pig, cow and sheep bones. And it's at this same period in time, about 5,000 years ago, with the discovery of agriculture, that we believe that the first of the three phases of Stonehenge may have been built. Now, everything I'm going to tell you about this mysterious and enigmatic place that is Stonehenge, there are many different theories, many different hypotheses. However, the site is so old, the archaeology is so scarce, that the interpretation of that data is often open to different opinions and different theories. I'm mainly going to tell you the theories that are endorsed by English Heritage. That is the not-for-profit organisation that runs Stonehenge and many other heritage sites around the country. And so, according to their archaeology, the site could have been developed in three different phases. The first one starting about 5,000 years ago. Would have been a very simple phase in the construction of the monument. We would have had an artificial mound or a round created flattened area with a ditch or a trench going all the way around it. And then on this mound there would have been two entrances, one to the northeast aligned with the sunset of the mid-winter solstice, another to the southeast aligned with the sunrise of the midsummer solstice, and a processionary route leading to the river Avon, which is about 6 miles or 10 kilometers away. That was all that would have been built in that first phase. That would have lasted about 1,000 to 1,500 years, and then the second phase would have begun. It would have been a wooden stage. On the mound, some large wooden posts were inserted. Now, of those wooden posts, nothing remains today. We simply know they were there thanks to some fairly recent archaeological digs. Again, we don't know what those posts were there for, what they would have represented. These would be just some of the many other mysteries surrounding Stonehenge. This stage would have lasted 500 to 1,000 years, and then the third and final phase, the most interesting one as far as we're concerned, because what is left of that after 2,500 years is what you're going to be able to see today. That was the stone phase. Now, when you get to the monument today, you'll be able to see two different types of stone. I imagine many of you already have an idea in your mind of what is Stonehenge. And in that idea that you may have a trilithon as part of the picture. A trilithon is a formation of three stones, two vertical ones crossed by a horizontal stone. Yeah. Now, each of those stones that make up the trilithons weigh between 40 and 50 tons each, and they are not found in that shape, form or size in the natural world. They had to be extracted from a hillside, cut down to shape and worked on so that each horizontal stone fits on the two vertical stones it sits on, and so it would have fitted on the two horizontal stones. It would have had one at either side when the stone circle was complete. Yep. So remember, we are in the Neolithic. That is the new Stone Age. Metals have probably not arrived in this country yet. If they had, there is some debate around that. Certainly their use was not extended. And the only tools we have found on the site of the time are made of stone, bone and deer antler. So with these very rudimentary tools, the site would have been built. How they transported these 40 or 50 ton rocks to the site, and perhaps even more intriguingly, how they managed to put the horizontal ones on top of the vertical ones. Remember, the wheel has not been discovered, neither has any other type of machinery, are just some of the other mysteries. But perhaps even more intriguing is the second type of stone you'll see there today. They are smaller stones. They are called blue stones because if you look close up, you will see they have a kind of bluish colour. They weigh between 4 and 5 tons. They're about a metre and a half high, so a lot smaller. However, these stones come from the Preseli Mountains in Wales, which is about 200 miles or 300 kilometres away. Now, why they would choose to bring those stones from so far away and how they got them to the site are a few of the other mysteries that to this day continue to escape a sure answer. So the monument you're going to see today is much smaller than what it would have been when it was built. When it was built, you would have had a complete outer circle of trilithons. Inside that, a complete circle of blue stones. Inside this, a horseshoe shape of 5 trilithons, and inside that another semicircle of blue stones, which together with the station stones, the heel stone, the altar stone, and the rather unfortunately named slaughter stone would have made for a much larger monument than you can see today. What you can see today is what's left there after 2,500 years, being exposed to the elements and to the often destructive hand of mankind, or humanity. And so, out of all the questions, out of all the mysteries surrounding Stonehenge, I guess that perhaps the most intriguing one, or the one many of you would like to know, is who built Stonehenge and why did they build it? What was it used for? And once again, I'm afraid we don't have the answer to that either. Now, many archaeologists believe that the first sedentary communities to be formed in England were formed up there on the Salisbury Plain. And they have given these people the generic name of the Mill Hill people, in honour to the name of one of the hills there. However, that's pretty much all we know, apart from the fact that they were sedentary farmers. We don't know much else about them. Yep. And, you know, what was the monument built for? Well, again, many different theories and hypotheses, but nothing for certain. So I'll start with my favourite one first. I'll tell you a few, and then you can make up your own mind to decide what it is. My favourite theory is that Stonehenge was a site for the landing of an alien spaceship, and that we are all descendants of these aliens. I say that's my favourite theory, not because it's the one I believe, but it's the one I believe to be the most far-fetched of them all. However, there are, you know, books, newspaper, magazine articles, documentaries, videos, all sorts of things that kind of support this theory. Very popular, of course, amongst the conspiracy theory lovers. You may also have heard that Stonehenge was a place of human sacrifices. Today we don't believe this to be true, because if there had been these type of rituals taking place there, what would you have expected to have found there? Many what? Many bones, right? And other evidence that effectively these rituals were taking place there, and they haven't been found. Yeah, there is one stone that is called the Slaughter Stone. That's rather unfortunate, and it gets its name because the stone is lying flat, and when it rains, some water gathers up in the crevices in the stone and forms puddles, and sometimes due to the minerality of the rock, these can take on a kind of reddish orange colour, and that's where the name comes from. But nothing to indicate that that type of ritual was happening there. You may have heard the legend that Merlin the magician brought the stones over from Ireland by magic, and that this was the burial of, this was the court of King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. Today we know Arthur and Merlin are legends, but perhaps 200 years ago the distinction between legend and history was not that clear, and that legend has lasted to our days. Yeah? What English Heritage believe, or what seems to have most archaeologists excited nowadays, is that Stonehenge was part of a mega site. There are other important Neolithic sites in the area. You have Amesbury, Avesbury, Durrington, Woodhenge, the Cursors, and others, and all of these, along with the more than 90 earthworks or burial places in the area, would have made one mega site. And to understand the meaning of one of them, we would have to understand the meaning of all of them, and the best preserved one is Stonehenge. The others have a lot less archaeology even. So because Stonehenge is made of stone, which is an imperishable material, and because of the high number of burial places in the area, it's possible that Stonehenge may have been dedicated or may have had something to do with death, but not in a sinister or macabre way, but rather as a tribute or a homage to the ancestors of these people, or perhaps a place where they went to pay their respects, or it had some type of connection between the land of the living and their ancestors. We're not entirely sure, but that seems to be like the most popular theories nowadays. Now I'm going to say these same commentaries in Spanish, so English speakers, you can go back to sleep for a while if you like. And then when I finish with those commentaries in Spanish, I'll give you the practical information of how we're going to organise the visit, and by then I will need you to all be awake.